This is the Evening News of Monday, March 24, 2014. I'm Michael Young. Thanks for joining us. Making the headlines tonight. Drama unfolds as Finance Minister presents 2014 National Budget. AFC walks out ahead of budget presentation. 4 arrested after cocaine ganja find at Crabrook Creek. Toddler run over by unlicensed driver at Darmont Essequibo. Rohi confirms support for Ramatar, and Parliament pays homage to former Deputy Speaker who will be buried on Friday. It's now time for the news in detail. Let's begin by telling you this evening that even as Finance Minister Dr. Ashley Singh was poised earlier today to present the 2014 National Budget in Parliament, Guyanese shared their views on what they hoped eagerly would be included in the minister's presentation. Here are details in this report.
Guyanese were busy today in almost every quarter of the country discussing the 2014 National Budget and the things they wanted to see reflected therein. As a matter, many people whom this newscast interviewed today stated clearly that they were not interested in the size of the budget or the figure that would be touted. They merely wanted to see older folks and other vulnerable groups benefit in a major way.
You know, the pensioners gave their service to the country, they did what they had to do, and now it's time for them to relax and enjoy what is given to them. So I think they should give something good to the pensioners.
So how much increase you want to see?
Well, even if it's 50% or whatever. Right? Something good, something good.
Even though the government seems kind of corrupt, I hope they can work along with the opposition party and bring restoration, bring back restore to Guyana, especially the Guyanese people, the public servants who are very much paid very low, above the minimum. And we like to see good things coming out of the budget, not bare talks alone. Put hands, heart and mind, and let this budget be a success.
There were also countless persons who hoped eagerly for some increase in the salaries of public servants of all categories.
Well, I think that there should be an increase in teachers' salary, because they work very hard and it's due to them, That's basically...
How much increase you want to see? How much?
I think they should be having 6 figures. Because currently most of them don't. I know some who don't. Yes, I think that should be the general thing for all teachers, whether primary, secondary, and so forth.
We want to see a proper budget. A proper budget. Yeah, some like if they're bringing out something properly.
What about the pensioners? What do you want to have for them?
The pensioners, they got to raise the pension.
And the income tax?
Well, they're supposed to drop the income tax. Right? Low for poor people must live. Yeah, some poor people can't live without. Because if you walk in for certain amounts of money from government, then you get 3 or 4 children for mine. And then you got to pay so much tax. Then when you go to the store, you got to pay VAT and all them things. They make no sense. Let's drop the income tax and let the poor people live. Because the rich get rich and the poor get poorer.
Honestly, I think they need to reduce the VAT a little bit because the people working, they gotta pay income tax. Plus, when you go to the market, you still gotta do the same thing again. It's like you're paying it twice.
So you want the PAYE to remain the same?
No, they could drop that instead of the VAT. 1 out of the 2.
This year, I would like to see a deduction in the income tax from 1/3. Maybe we can get about instead of 1/3, a quarter. That will certainly increase disposable income and will be a greater benefit to the society at large. And will probably create better taxes and more taxes for the state.
Reporting for the Evening News, Jomo Paul.
Thanks, Jomo. Let's tell you now that parliamentarians had their say about the 2014 national budget ahead of Dr. Singh's arrival and presentation of that budget as well. Here are details from Alexis Rodney.
The day of the highly anticipated 2014 national budget is finally here. Like all Guyanese, members of parliament have their expectations. We spoke with a few ministers of the government as well as members of the opposition to hear of their expectations. This is what they had to say.
Well, from the history of the budgets of this government, no one's expectations could be high. As I said, they've always emphasized brick and concrete over human flesh. And I don't expect it. I would love to be pleasantly surprised, but let's wait and see.
this year?
Well, we only present good budgets, right? So we expected this one would be no different.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
With the presentation.
I expect that he will deliver a budget that doesn't bring much for the poor, that doesn't treat with the issues we've been asking him to address. Nothing special in that regard. Thank you.
My expectations, well, we'll have enough resources to run the programs that we are running. Yeah.
Prime Minister, good afternoon. Your expectations of Budget 2020?
Well, we have been on the course of growth and development, and I expect we will continue on that course. You know, growth and development and catching up with the developed country is a task of many decades. So we will continue on course and adjust as we move from stage to stage.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Your expectations of 2020 budget?
Well, it's difficult because the process that was promised APNU to start on the 1st of July 2013 never got started. The Minister of Finance, Dr. Ashley Singh, never engaged in any meaningful discussions with the APNU. So, quite frankly, at this point in time, we don't expect that the concerns of APNU will have been considered by Dr. Singh. So we expect the worst.
Thank you very much.
I personally, my ministry and the country wants to have is a budget that is passed as presented. That's all we need.
Well, I'm expecting that we will continue the infrastructural development, particularly in the technical areas of regulations and control. I'm expecting that we will continue to be able to support the drainage and irrigation structure of Guyana and to build it to a level that will meet the whole needs of the sector.
My expectations are that it will be more of the same, and our response will also be in identical terms.
There we've had it, but will those expectations be realized? Only time will tell. Reporting from Parliament Buildings, Georgetown, for the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
You'll now hear that the Alliance for Change walked out of the National Assembly minutes before Dr. Ashley Singh presented that budget. Details in this report.
The budget presentation exercise got off to an epic start with the Alliance for Change, the AFC, walking out even before the finance minister took to his feet to present the 2014 estimates. The party said it was registering its protest against government's violation of the country's constitution by not holding meaningful consultations on the budget. Quoting Article 13, the AFC pointed out that Guyana's constitution provides principal objectives of the political system of the state to establish inclusionary democracy. The AFC argued in a statement issued shortly after its walkout that the government-opposition consultation promotes the type of democracy that Guyana needs. The party accused the government of trying to reduce the role of the majority opposition from an active participant in national decision-making to one of a passive listener. Playing with words, the AFC said it did not believe that the finance minister would make a sober presentation this year. The party said strongly that the capital estimates would be padded to include high-profile pet projects for multi-billion-dollar contracts. According to the alliance, the budget is being presented by a minister who has acted in contradiction with the decisions of the House by moves to restore funds that were not approved. The party said nonetheless it endorses the financing of organizations that continue to foster growth within their communities and regions. However, the party noted that the 2014 budget is overshadowed by the ruling of the Chief Justice that the National Assembly may approve or not approve the estimates of expenditure. This ruling by the Chief Justice has since been appealed. While the party is respectful to the court's ruling, it said it reserves the right to abide with the people's mandate to guard the national purse, fight squandermania, waste and corruption by whatever means available to us under the standing orders of the National Assembly in the Committee of Supply. Today's action of the AFC is presumably just the tip of the iceberg with regard to the opposition's posture of the Joint Parliamentary Opposition. Both the AFC and a Partnership for National Unity, APNU, had registered their intention to axe the budget for the third time.
Thanks, Avinash. The AFC's walkout, of course, did not stop Finance Minister Dr. Ashley Singh from presenting yet another multi-billion-dollar budget to the National Assembly amidst various forms of high drama in that parliament. Details in this report.
Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh presented a $220 billion budget, which undoubtedly is the biggest budget presented in the country's pre- and post-independence history. His 3-hour-long presentation this afternoon in the Parliament saw the Minister explaining the budget was being presented under the theme A Better Guyana for All Guyanese. Dr. Singh explains that Guyana recorded rail GDP in 2013 of 5.2% and non-sugar GDP of 6.3%. Several sectors recorded sterling performance, with the sugar sector contracting. Here are some of the measures included in this year's budget.
Budget 2014 allocates sums totaling $3.2 billion to continue to meet the cost of maintaining the electricity subsidy in Linden and Kwakwani, so that 10,500 electricity customers in Region 10 can continue to benefit from rates that are highly subsidized. As indicated last year, Mr. Speaker, this translates to a monthly benefit of over $23,000 for each electricity customer in the beneficiary area. Old age pensions. Mr. Speaker, recent years have been marked by dramatic increase in the non-contributory old age pension paid to persons over the age of 65 years. This monthly cash supplement has been increased annually from $3,500 in 2006 to $12,500 last year. Budget 2014 provides for the old age pension to be increased by 5% with effect from 1st of May 2014 to $13,125 monthly. Mr. Speaker, the deficit of the central government is programmed at 4.9% of GDP in 2014, or $32.4 billion. Mr. Speaker, the size of Budget 2014 is $220 billion. Needless to say, Mr. Speaker, this represents Guyana's largest budget ever.
We will bring you a detailed analysis of the Minister's presentation over the coming week. Here now is a glimpse of the opposition's response to the entire presentation exercise today.
In this report, you will hear that parliamentarians today joined together, regardless of which side of the divide they are sitting on, to pay homage and respect to the late Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Deborah Baca. Details in this report.
It was a solemn atmosphere in the National Assembly as members expressed condolences on the death of former member Deborah Baca. At today's special sitting of the House, members from the parties paid homage to the former member as they reflected on her stern contributions to the development of the country and its people. Speaker of the National Assembly, Raphael Trotman, narrated the life of Baca as a politician and parliamentarian, pointing out that she had served in the National Assembly in the 8th, 9th and 10th Parliaments.
She has tabled, which is before us now, a bill, the Married Persons Property Amendment Bill, which we're led to believe will gain the support of government, as the Prime Minister had previously indicated. That bill, I should say that only last Wednesday, Mrs. Baca wrote me, indicating to me that Honourable Member Ms. Vola Lawrence will take up the mantle of responsibility and pilot that bill on her behalf. During her tenure as a member, Mrs. Baca laid 6 motions in the National Assembly, some of which were endorsed by the House and some of which did not succeed.
APNU leader David Grange also spoke on the loss of an invaluable member. He noted that she was very committed to improving the lives of Guyanese.
She was deeply concerned about the condition under which ordinary people lived and worked. And much of her work in the Blind Society, in the Lions Club, was committed to making or giving people that good life in which she believed. She acknowledged and she was proud of her mixed heritage, and it felt that that was not a liability. It was an asset because it gave her insights into the thinking of different sections of the population, and it made her a real citizen of Guyana.
Meanwhile, AFC's Member of Parliament, Cathy Hughes, said Baca had served Guyana and the National Assembly beyond the call of duty.
There was an aspect to Debbie that was about moving Guyana forward. It was about coming to positions of compromise. It was about being able to negotiate so that ordinary Guyanese would be able to benefit and be served, better served by this country.
Also expressing condolences to the family and APNU was Prime Minister Samuel Hines, who acknowledged the contributions of the late politician, noting that she was a worthy opponent.
She represented her cause and her party well. She was a keen debater and known from this side for her ability to heckle and to put some of our members off as they spoke. She was one of few female deputy speakers, maybe only one of two.
Backer had resigned from the National Assembly on February 7 due to her prolonged illness, which she succumbed to last Friday. She was recently recognized for her outstanding work as a parliamentarian.
The funeral service for the former Deputy Speaker is set to take place on Friday with a viewing at the forecourt of Parliament buildings at 2 p.m. Here are details in this story.
Former Deputy Speaker Deborah Backer will be laid to rest on Friday at what can be proven to be a very emotional and moving funeral service, her party announced today. Backer's body will be available for public viewing at Parliament Building, according to Chief Whip of a Partnership for National Unity, Amna Ali. Ali earlier today reflected on some of the most notable memories she had of Backer.
The funeral arrangements on Friday, there will be viewing in the forecourt of the Parliament, because as you know, Debbie was Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, and so they're going to start with the viewing of her remains in the forecourt of the Parliament, and subsequently the body will be taken over to the St. Andrew's Kirk. That is where the church service is going to be. That's the church just opposite the Parliament building, and that service I think should start around 2 o'clock. A lot of people talk about Debbie's sense of humor, and that is something I really do admire about her. You know, I recall different times, different scenes which she portrayed in the Parliament. Very serious. It looked as though it was a joke, but she was there with her box of cornflakes to show Mr. Clement Rohi and you know, about that. She was there with her dolphin to remind Mr. Lumumba of the dolphin scam. She was there with her hammer, and every time Ropesville speaks, she would show him her hammer. And so, you know, she was very witty. She had an admirable sense of humor.
Ali also mentioned some of the other activities planned to celebrate the life of Backer, who has been dubbed the opposition Iron Lady by many because of the roles she played on the political scene in Guyana over the past 2 decades.
Tuesday night in Region 3, we are having what we call reflections, and that is going to be held at the West Demerara Secondary School at 7:30. And on a Thursday night, the PNCR will be hosting a wake at the residence of, well, I don't want to say former residence, at Mrs. Backer Meadowbrook residence. And that will start at 7 o'clock. I know that in addition to that, there are lots of other activities to commemorate her death, but those are the ones directly linked with the party. We've also had documentaries done, New Nation Watch, etc.
A book of condolence was also opened for Backer at Congress Place. Another book will be mounted at Parliament buildings. Meanwhile, the party noted that it will also be working to place more books at various locations across the country so as to afford all Guyanese the opportunity to record their condolences. Leader of a Partnership for National Unity, Brigadier David Granger, and City Mayor Hamilton Green were among the first to sign the book. Backer died late Friday evening at the Davis Memorial Hospital. She was suffering from a prolonged period of illness, which had led to her abrupt resignation from the National Assembly in February.
Join us on the other side of the break when you'll hear that 4 men have been arrested for cocaine and ganja. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. General Secretary of the ruling People's Progressive Party, Civic Clement Rohi, says that the party is backing President Donald Ramotar fully as he denounced any talk about divisions within its ranks and a possible third term for former President Barry Jagdeo. Here are details in this report.
General Secretary of the ruling People's Progressive Party, Civic PPPC, Clement Rohi, has put to rest the speculations that former President Barry Jagdeo is likely to run for a third term as president and explaining the party is supportive of such a position. At the party's weekly press briefing, the General Secretary highlighted to media operatives that the former president himself said that he will not be running for a third term as president. He added that the Constitution does not provide for that and the party will not provide such a legislation either. He made it clear that the PPP is behind the present leader, President Donald Ramotar, and there is no move at the party's level to undermine his presidency. For the Evening News, I'm Gabriella Patram.
The family of a toddler is now mourning his demise after he was run over by a minibus on Sunday evening at Dartmouth Village on the Essequibo coast. This newscast understands that Javiel Peters, who would have been celebrating his birthday soon, lost his life around 1900 hours while playing in his street. The driver of the minibus has been arrested after it was discovered that he was unlicensed. He has since been identified as Devon Fordyce after neighbors witnessed the horrific incident. Abiola Jacobs, the GDF rank accused of murdering a woman from Agricola, made yet another court appearance today amidst complaints from the victim's family that Jacobs is making contact with them from her cell. Leroy Bedlow reports.
Abiola Jacobs, 22 years old, of Lot 55 Evan Phillips Park, Agricola, East Bank, Demoara, made yet another court appearance in the Georgetown Magistrates Court before Chief Magistrate Presonaran Bihari. Police prosecutor Barrett Mangru told the court that relatives of the deceased made complaints about the defendant making contact with them via letters and cell calls, even though she's on remand. Mangru went on to request that the court warns the accused and request that she desist from making any contact with the relatives. Attorney Adrian Thompson related to the court that his client is unaware of the allegations made by the relatives of the deceased. Chief Magistrate Bihari instructed that the accused end all, if any, communication with the victim's relatives. It is alleged that the female soldier on January 31st at Agricola Public Road, Greater Georgetown, murdered 55-year-old Agricola Donette Taylor. According to police reports, Taylor's body was found at the back of her Agricola home on Friday, January 31st, with her throat slit and her hands bound. Jacobs was further remanded until May 6th for the commencement of the preliminary inquiry. Some 17 witnesses are set to be testifying in the case. Leroy Bedler reporting for the Evening News.
4 persons have been arrested as police ranks in Berbice continue their quest to clamp down on crimes and trafficking of narcotics in the area, specifically in Subdivision 2 under the experienced leadership of the new officer in charge, Paris Ram. Ryan Finance, 25, Christian Dat Ali, 17, Fazal Ali, 23, and Rodney George, 16, all of Grant 1803 Crabble Creek, were arrested for being in the possession of illegal narcotics. Reports are that on March 21, police ranks acting on information went to the location and pounced on the alleged perpetrators. They were found to be in possession of 2 grams of cocaine and 7 grams of cannabis. The 4 were immediately arrested and are currently being held at the Springlands police station as charges will be laid shortly. There have been major accomplishments in the fight against HIV and AIDS, as well as some major disappointments. This is the backdrop against which Guyana will submit its findings to the United Nations Global UN AIDS Secretariat at the end of this month. Details in this report.
The Ministry of Health National AIDS Program Secretariat and the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS UNAIDS today held a final stakeholders meeting to finalize Guyana's document for submission to the Global UNAIDS Secretariat. The submission will take place on March 31st and will report on various aspects of Guyana in respect to HIV/AIDS in the country. Speaking with the Evening News was Dr. Shanti Singh, who is the Director of the National AIDS Program Secretariat, NAPS, stated that this 2-year report will have a lot of progress and disappointments.
When we look at the program data, for example, if I can start with prevention, when we look at the program data, we've seen good progress in the PMTCT program. with a continuing reduction and a maintenance of the HIV prevalence among the antenatal population of about 0.8%. We've seen high uptake of HIV testing among the population, 93% in 2013. And we've seen good uptake in terms of antiretroviral therapy and testing of infants. For 2013, we had 5 infants tested HIV positive, which works out about 2.1%.
She went on further to state that one of the things that they will not be able to report on is the HIV prevalent rates and areas.
In 2009, we had close to 1,200 cases being reported. At the end of 2012, we had 820 cases reported. So from about 2009, we've seen a gradual dip in the number of HIV cases.
The 2011 Political Declaration on HIV/AIDS committed countries to, by 2015, have a reduction in sexual transmission of HIV and transmission and the elimination of mother-to-child transmission. For the Evening News, I'm Gabriella Patram.
On the other side of the break, you'll hear that 2 men are shot during a quarantine robbery. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. The police today reported that 2 men were shot on Sunday evening after being robbed by a group of armed men at Bushlot Quarantine. In a statement to the media, the police identified the men as businessman Ban Singh Gayadin, 72 years, of Madhya Quarantine, and Krisun Dat Mahadu, 28 years, of Bushlot Quarantine. The incident occurred at around 1900 hours and saw both men being shot and injured in their feet. The bandits who escaped on feet carted off $400,000 Ghana dollars. Both of the victims have been hospitalized at the New Amsterdam Hospital as police investigations continue. So far, reports are that Gayadin was returning to his residence and was being accompanied by Mahadu when they were both attacked by the gunmen. The People's Progressive Party Civic has urged members of a Partnership for National Unity and the Working People's Alliance to cooperate with the commissioners of the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry. Alexis Rodney has details in this story.
Chairman of the recently established commission, Sir Richard Cheltenham, is urging the People's National Congress to respect the work of the commission. The two bodies met to iron out pressing issues and concerns raised by the PNC and APNO. Among those were the matters arising out of the terms of reference, which seek to grant absolute pardon to persons who might have had a hand in the death of the political activists. Another concern was the WPA's non-involvement in the drafting of the terms of reference. But the chairman had told the meeting that all questions should be raised with the sponsoring authority, President Donald Ramotar. The People's Progressive Party later responded to these concerns. The letter said that the head of state had taken into consideration the request made by Patricia Rodney, widow of Dr. Rodney, not to consult the two political organizations on the matter. According to the letter, Rodney has no intention of making the COI politicized. The PPPC had called on both parties to fully cooperate with the COI and to submit their written memoranda to the Commission by the deadline date of March 26 of this year. And I quote, "The people of Guyana can expect the full participation and cooperation of both the PNC and WPA to finally bring closure to the matter." Unquote.
Thanks, Alexis. Bilal McLennan, also called Lips, was on March 21 charged with robbery under arms. Reports are that he robbed Jagnarine Narain on March 16 at Rose Hall Tongue with a knife. He then stole one iPhone valued at $37,000 and $20,000 in cash. McLennan appeared at the New Amsterdam Magistrates Court on March 21 before Magistrate Marcus Isaacs. He pleaded not guilty to the charges and was granted bail in the sum of $40,000. He is expected to return to court on April 8, 2014. 30 Guyanese have been recruited by Travelspan Airline to work as flight attendants, as we hear in this report.
30 Guyanese will commence work at Travelspan as flight attendants from June of 2014. This is according to Venita Jagnarine, who is the Sales, Marketing and PRO Manager for the Guyana Travelspan office. She noted that a total of 80 persons, both males and females, were initially interviewed before the selection process was completed. She stated that the first interviewing process went well, but due to the outstanding media coverage from this newscast, other applications came pouring in and a second interviewing procedure had to be held. More training will begin in May with the 30 persons who have been shortlisted. The first half of the training will be conducted here in Guyana, while the second half will take place in Las Vegas. Jagnarine pointed out that June is a peak season for flights, and seeing that Travelspan has introduced 4 additional flights during that period, the employees will fit perfectly into the work and flight schedule. She added that the 30 future employees that were shortlisted met the requirements, which include a university degree or diploma in the relevant areas, pleasant figure, and most of all, personality. The flight attendants that will be employed by Travelspan hail from all across the country, which include Berbice, Linden, Georgetown, and Bartico. For the evening news, I'm Gabriella Patram.
You're watching the evening news. More news after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is the evening news. Godfrey Pereira, 19 years, and Dwayne Wallace were both placed on bail after they appeared in the Georgetown Magistrates Court today before Chief Magistrate Priya Bahari. The duo pleaded not guilty to the charges leveled against them. It is alleged that on March 20 in the vicinity of Georgetown, they robbed Deodat Singh of one bicycle valued at $15,000 and $6,240 in cash. Just last month, one of the defendants, Pereira, was placed on probation after he escaped a 3-year sentence from the chief magistrate for the offense of simple larceny. He was accused of stealing one Samsung Galaxy cell phone valued at $120,000 on February 6th from the car of Rodney Cooper. Pereira was told by the chief magistrate that if he is found guilty of this offense, he will be sentenced. Bail was granted in the sum of $100,000 for each of the defendants. The duo is expected to make another court appearance on April 7th, 2014. Sol Guyana on Saturday evening held a night of appreciation for its customers and dealers across the country. Gabriella Patram was there and she filed this report.
Sol International Appreciation Ceremony was held at Pegasus in Kingston. The night saw special invited customers and managers with their families meeting and greeting with each other and allowed the company to reflect on its past year's activities and performance in the energy market here. Giving remarks at the function was General Manager of Sol Guyana Orlando Boxill, who noted that the company is indeed proud of its achievement over the past 9 years.
These transactions solidify Sol as the largest independent petroleum marketing company in the Caribbean Basin, managing a portfolio of 472 service stations, 14 aviation facilities, 24 marinas, and 32 import terminals spanning across 21 countries and supported by approximately 700 employees.
Also in attendance at the function was Prime Minister Sam Hines, who noted that Sol has placed itself at the forefront of the petroleum industry in Guyana.
I know too that many of the companies in the petroleum business have been becoming active too in the renewable energy business. If I'm not mistaken, I think Sol too has some activities in the renewable energy area. So let me commend you, Mr. Boxill, Mr. Figaro, and all the employees of Sol, and let me extend the appreciation of our government for the service that you provide to our people. And let me wish Sol and its dealers and customers all success.
The management of Sol says it will continue to support the economy in Guyana while performing its social duty. For the evening news, I'm Gabriella Patram.
Thanks, Gabriella. Sukram Ramnarayan of No Fixed Place of Abode was today ordered to 30 hours of community service after pleading guilty to the charge read against him in the Georgetown Magistrates Court before Magistrate Geeta Chanan Edmund. It is alleged that on March 20 at the Merriman's Mall in Georgetown, he deposited waste on the said road of the mall. The item is said to be one large orange plastic bag containing a quantity of corn skins. City Constabulary Prosecutor James Garnett told the court that the City Constabulary Constable 1804 Passad saw the accused and arrested him. The defendant was taken to the City Constabulary headquarters, told of the offense and arrested. The defendant was then sentenced to 30 hours of community service by the magistrate. The magistrate also informed him that if he fails to do his community service, he will be sentenced to 20 days imprisonment. You're watching the Evening News. Your sport is next. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. It's now time for a look at what's happening in the world of sport. But of course, first, your headlines. The Classic arrives in Guyana. Arm Wrestling Championship to debut in Guyana. Ravens win road to Mecca basketball. And Windies women start World T20 on winning note. Our sportscast is brought to you with the kind compliments of Macor.
How would you like to get the parts you need at unbelievably reduced prices? For 3 days only, come to our yard sale and choose from thousands of factory fresh parts and used surplus equipment at prices worth shouting about. Visit our Providence location from March 21st to 23rd, starting daily at 9 a.m. Check our website or Facebook page for more information. Macorp, let's build Guyana together.
Welcome back. It's now time for your sport in detail. IFBB pro athlete Jeff Classic Beckman, who is slated to guest pose at Saturday's UROS Classic, arrived in Guyana this morning. To kickstart his maiden tour here, the powerfully built American wooed the students of Chase Academy during a short visit to the school. Avinash Ramzan reports.
That was the scene this morning when Beckham arrived at the Chase Academy on a specially arranged visit with Guyana's internationally renowned bodybuilder, Hugh Arlington Ross.
I would like to say thank you and, good morning to everybody. And I'm really excited to be out here in Guyana. I've never been here before, and I'm just really excited to perform in front of you guys. And you guys should try to make it out with your parents on Saturday to see the show. It's going to be a good show with a lot of good competitors. And just looking forward to being here. I'm going to be here for a whole week. So I'm really looking forward to being out here and mixing up with all you guys. And, and I hope you guys have a good time at the show, and take care.
The 32-year-old, who packs 280 pounds of muscles and a very aesthetic frame, said he's very excited to come to Guyana on the invitation of his longtime friend and colleague, Hugh Ross. Beckham also stated that he has something special in store for the fans on competition night. Prior to Beckham's arrival, Ross, in whose honor this Saturday's event is being held, had a few words of advice for the students.
In front of me, I see the future. Basically, you guys have one sole job in mind as it is currently. And that job is to enhance your education. Having a proper academics under your belt actually is the threshold that can actually launch you into any arena that you so choose.
Beckham was also a Musclemania pro and became an IFBB pro after winning the overall title at the NPC's New York Team Universe in 2012.
Thanks, Avinash. West Indies defeated England by 9 runs to start the Women's World T20 on a positive note. The Windies looked set for a big total after Stephanie Taylor, 56, and Casey Knight added 87 for the first wicket. But they both slumped from 108 to 1 to finish on 133 for 7 as Natalie Shever took 3 for 18. Captain Charlotte Edwards led England's chase with 44 from 39 balls but fell with 40 still needed as Andrea Dottin, 4 for 12, ripped through the middle order to shock the group favourites. The Windies women's victory follows the 7-wicket loss the men suffered at the hands of India on Sunday. Also in the men's competition, Sri Lanka dismissed the Netherlands for the lowest score in T20 international history as they cruised to the top of the Group 1 match. The sorry Dutch were bundled out for 39 runs in 10.3 overs, 17 fewer than the previous worst total. Only Tom Cooper, 16, made double figures as Angelo Matthews and Mendes took 3 wickets apiece. Sri Lanka knocked off the runs in 5 overs for the loss of only 1 wicket to complete a 9-wicket victory. Earlier in the day, Dale Steyn bowled South Africa to a thrilling 2-run win over New Zealand. Chasing 171, New Zealand needed 7 off the final over, but Steyn took 2 wickets and ran out Ross Taylor 6-2 off the last ball to seal a victory. Steyn finished with 4 for 17 in New Zealand, 168 for 8. But teammate JP Dumini took the Man of the Match award. Dumini hit an unbeaten 86 from 43 balls as South Africa put on 70 of the last 5 overs to reach 170 for 6. Diners Ravens emerged with a blowout 85-57 victory over Retrieve Raiders in the final of the Road to Mecca basketball tournament on Sunday evening at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall. Tristan Joseph witnessed the action and he filed this report.
Rated number 4 in Georgetown, the Ravens used the run that started in the final minutes of the third quarter to rout the Retrieve Raiders from Linden by 28 points to become Guyana's number 1 club. The Ravens would ignite a monstrous 29-7 run in the third quarter, starting with a Jermaine Slater putback that would give the Ravens the lead for good, with the score on 27-26. Akeem the Dream Kanai would throw down a thunderous one-handed tomahawk dunk to continue the momentum into the fourth, before Dominic Vincent exploded with 3 threes in the fourth quarter to expand the lead. Kanai would finish with 20 points, 8 rebounds, 5 steals and 4 blocks, while Jermaine Slater would drop a double-double with 17 points and 16 rebounds. Vincent, the finals MVP, would end with 16 points, while Rodwell Fortune would drop 18 points in the win. Third place went to Bounty Colts as they routed the Amelia Ward Jets 71-48 to pick up the win. Shelroy Thomas kept attacking the rim relentlessly, scoring 20 points with 6 steals to carry the Colts to the victory. Nikolai Smith chipped in with 15 points, while Dave Causeway had 11 points, 5 assists and 6 steals. In the supporting game, the Diplomatic Corps routed the Media United team 76-57 to cap off a thrilling night of basketball and the Road to Mecca National Club Championships.
Do you think you're strong and want an avenue to prove it? Then count yourself lucky. Believe it or not, you, yes, you could very well be on the way to becoming the strongest person in Guyana. Find out how in this Avinash Ramzan report.
The country's newest sports bar, 704, located at Lamahan Albert Streets, is providing that opportunity by laying the platform for aspiring arm wrestlers to prove their worth at the first ever Ultimate Arm Wrestling Championships 2014. The innovative event was launched on Saturday at 704 Sports Bar, where key stakeholders divulged the nature of the championship, the categories and the format that would be used when action powers off on April 14. Project manager of 704 Sports Bar, Dostani Barrow, said the event will provide an alternative means of entertainment to the sport-loving Guyanese public.
Arm wrestling has been around since Egyptian times, about 2000 BC ago. And that was the most honest way of men differentiating who was actually stronger than who. So 704 Sports Bar, in an effort to bring alternative forms of live sports and entertainment to the Guyanese public, decided that since this has never been done, we are going to do it, because that is what our business is about. We're about innovation, bringing new things to the foreground.
Patron of the tournament, Guyana's world-renowned and award-winning bodybuilder Hugh Arlington Ross, in endorsing the activity, said arm wrestling is one of the purest ways of proving one's strength. He expressed elation at 704 Sports Bar, embracing the concept and being bold enough to stage a competition in this regard. Ross wished the organizers and the prospective competitors well, noting that an exciting championships is envisaged.
As was indicated to you, arm wrestling has been around from ancient times. It's a very, very wonderful way and one of the purest ways of testing or evaluating as to who the stronger individual is. And I would not say guy because, as you all know, this will be open to females as well. This club, being a pioneer of its kind here, is once again the pioneer in actually bringing this to fruition. So it's not a case where it's being deliberated. It's already unfolded, and as of middle of the next one, the actual competition is going to start right here. And very much, I'm positive that it is going to attract massive attention because it's going to be added to our list of sports entertainment here, and I'm overly delighted that we can have this here.
Public Relations Officer of 704 Sports Bar, John Ramsing, revealed that registration forms will be available from Tuesday at the entity's location, as well as leading gyms across the country. The deadline for submission of forms is April 11.
After this Georgetown leg of the Ultimate Arm Wrestling Championship, there's going to be one in Essequibo. And it's going to be, after Essequibo, it's going to be a Clash of the Champions. Alright, so much more to look forward to in arm wrestling.
Each competitor is required to pay an entrance fee of $1,000 upon submission of completed registration form. The championship is open to everyone 18 years and older in 3 categories: male over 200 pounds, male under 200 pounds, and female open. The organizers are hoping to attract a minimum of 48 competitors per category. The top 3 finishers in each category will receive $100,000, $75,000 and $50,000, along with gift certificates from Fitness Express, Guinness hampers, and products from other sponsors.
Thanks, Avinash. Your bridge reports are next.
How would you like to get the parts you need at unbelievably reduced prices? For 3 days only, come to our yard sale and choose from thousands of factory fresh parts and used surplus equipment at prices worth shouting about. Visit our Providence location from March 21st to 23rd, starting daily at 9 a.m. Check our website or Facebook page for more information. MACORP, let's build Guyana together.
Welcome back. You're tuned to the Evening News. It's now time for a look at your bridge reports. The Demerara Harbour Bridge will be closed on Tuesday, March 25th at 12 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours. The Berbice River Bridge will be closed on Tuesday, March 25 at 11 hours 40 for a period of 1.5 hours. That's your Monday, March 24 edition of the Evening News. I'm Michael Young, thanking you very much for joining us. Goodbye.